Hello and welcome to Verbal to Visual. Today we're going to be chatting about this book right here, Rework by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansen, founders of Basecamp, also the creators of Hey, a new email platform that is trying to kind of be the anti-Gmail. The reason I want to bring this book in today is, one, because it has lots of good ideas that influenced me very early on, at the very beginning stages of my journey as an entrepreneur and kind of online business builder here. But in addition to that, it also has some really cool illustrations by none other than Mike Rohde, author of the Sketchnote Handbook, designer and illustrator prior to coining the term sketchnoting and popularizing it. This book is coming up on its 10th anniversary, so congrats, Mike, on not only this book, but all the work you've done since it was published to continue being such a supporter of the sketchnoting community. Mike illustrated every single chapter in this book, and I kind of came across both of these books at the same time, so it felt kind of meaningful to I think I came across this book first, and then this crossed my path, and it happened to be illustrated by Mike. So I think that's part of the reason it holds some significant meaning for me. Today, what we're going to do is I'm going to share some of my favorite illustrations from this book that are very much in the Mike Rohde sketchnoting style. And then we're going to draw one of those illustrations. So this is kind of a new series that I'm imagining that was suggested by a member of Verbal to Visual. Shout out to Tracy. To share books that I've enjoyed that already have visuals in them. Some form of illustrations, whether it be kind of the simpler form of drawings and diagrams, maybe all the way to something that maybe is more illustrative and maybe more artistic. Because what we do here as sketchnoters, folks who follow along here, probably already have some experience taking visual notes of a book, which I encourage you to continue doing. But it's kind of fun to explore books that already have visuals in them and what we as visual note takers might be able to learn from those book illustrations. So that's the plan today. I then have kind of a, after checking out the ideas in this book, we're going to draw one of them and kind of we're each going to add our own spin to one particular illustration. And then I might make some folks mad with the things that I do, the specific thing that I do at the end of this video, but we'll get there. First, let me do a quick little flip through just so you get a sense for the kind of the balance of words and imagery throughout this book. If I ever look up, by the way, it's because I got to view the little flip out screen on my overhead camera. I need to get myself a external monitor so that I don't have to do that so often. But here we go. Here's the book. You get a sense for the balance of words and images. These are kind of like, each chapter is essentially the size of a blog post or so. I think that might even be where these originated. Jason and David were bloggers at 27 Signals, 67, 57 Signals, a blog that's no longer active, I don't think, but one that you can still go see the archive of. Where is it? 37 Signals. So it kind of feels like each little chapter is its own little blog post, has its own little message to it, many of which are still relevant today. This book came out in 2010. So let's just take a look at some of the illustrations here. I'm going to share 10 of them. Here is the first. Planning is guessing. There's so much that we don't know about what will happen day to day as individual creators with our own work, how people will respond to it. So for folks pursuing a creative career, in this case, starting your own business. So the title of this book is kind of a different approach to building a business. And while there are some parts that are focused on bigger businesses, a lot of this is like the vast majority of the ideas here are applicable to solopreneurs and very small businesses. So recognizing that planning is guessing. And putting kind of less attention in a 12-month or a 2-year plan and focusing on, okay, what's the next month going to be about? What are the next couple of weeks going to be about? And let your actions and what happens in response inform what you do next. Like the style there. I like one of the things that I like about Mike's style at this time, at least, and I think there's some consistency in his work now, is I really appreciate these bold letters that still, like, there was some white space left in between the letters. I feel like that gives it a really cool look, and some nice 3-dimensional drawing there. Next idea, scratch your own itch. Man, this is a huge part of I think a successful creator business. Giving yourself the opportunity to follow your own curiosity, follow the questions that you have, kind of makes it sustainable. That's really where verbal to visual came from, because the itch that I was scratching was the desire that I had to remember more from the books that I would read. And once I came across the concept of visual note-taking, I saw that as a way to solve that kind of particular problem. And it's been fun to continue scratching that itch and also kind of seeing what else you can do with your sketchnoting skills and supporting others in the development of them. Draw a line in the sand. Have an opinion about things. Great zoomed in visual here of this, finger making that thick mark in the sand. A strong stand is how you attract superfans. I like this concept. I'm not sure if how well I've applied this as someone who teaches visual note taking. Maybe the line that I've drawn and I try to reiterate on is just the fact that your visual notes don't have to look good. And they don't have to be understandable by other people. Mike is a guy who clearly is a very talented designer and illustrator, and he will tell you that it's about ideas, not art. And I just think that's a message that kind of continually needs to be reinforced, because this is a visual work that we do, and it's easy for the artistic work, the good-looking illustrative work to catch people's eyes and to kind of spread the most. But that's not what visual note-taking is about. It's about creating an external reference of ideas that helps you learn or process or share ideas with others. What's next? Ooh, here's a good one. Throw less at the problem, not more. I like the less is more philosophy. I feel like anytime I come up upon a particular struggle or challenge in my own work, it's probably because I'm trying to do too many things at once. So figuring out what I can pull back on, and how I can address that challenge by either doing less or throwing something small at it rather than something big. I like that idea. Go to sleep. This is probably the one that first came to mind as I was thinking back on this book. I read this book about a decade ago, almost. I think I even checked it out from the library, read it, took photos of a bunch of these illustrations, did some note-taking on my own. But then as the idea for making this video came up, I was thinking back on the book, and this was one of the first visuals that came to mind, because as simple as it is, I think it's very effective. And I like this use of a simple object like a bed, but having this strong black and white, big, bold, go to sleep message in the middle of it. Something I have to kind of remind myself of, how important sleep is, getting it consistently. This one, pour yourself into your product. we're going to come back to that one. This is the one that we're going to draw out, so I'll wait to say more about that one until we draw it out together. Here's a little teaser. What we're going to do is we'll draw this picture as a container and then identify what it is about yourself, and I will do this for me, what it is about me that I'm trying to pour into the products that I make, these YouTube videos and the teaching and community building that goes on inside of Verbal to Visual. Emulate chefs. Here, the concept is, talks about how chefs teach what they know. Chefs write cookbooks. They go on cooking shows and demonstrate for you how to make their own recipes. That's not going to take away from their business. It's not going to cause people to not want to go to that person's restaurant. This kind of follows along the lines of the concept of learning in public, of teaching everything you know. Don't be afraid to share how it is that you do what you do, because it's more likely to help people, and it's more likely to create fans of your work than it is to allow someone to copy it. Take a deep breath. Especially after anything that you feel like big happens. For me, I need to remind myself of this pretty much anytime I publish a YouTube video, whenever I launch a new course, sometimes even as simple as like sending out an email newsletter. Anytime I like do something public and put my work out there, it's so easy to feel frantic about it, to worry about how people are receiving it. So when I think about this concept of taking a deep breath with this lovely centered image here, that's kind of what comes to mind for me. Maybe that's something I need to embrace about these videos too, now that I am trying to do them with less edits, and also real-time drawing and talking while drawing. That's what I'm experimenting with as far as like video formats go. And sometimes I need to remind myself, just like relax. I literally wrote an index card, relax and have fun with the process. That's one of my goals as I make videos like this. And part of that is occasionally taking a deep breath, or a semi-deep breath as you change the page. Sound like you. That's another thing that I'm trying to do with these videos that I make now. Don't feel like you have to sound like a particular brand or person. Find a way to create the conditions where you can sound like yourself. That's pretty huge. Last one. ASAP is poison. This is maybe my second favorite one. And now maybe since the go to sleep one is fairly ingrained, I feel like this one is probably the one that I need a reminder of more often. ASAP is rarely like as important as it sounds. Kind of along the lines with take a deep breath. Does it really need to get done today in the next hour? Can you sit on it? Can you sleep on it? Probably. Yeah, and I like the use of a pill bottle, the visual metaphor here. It's just perfect. So those are the 10 illustrations that I wanted to share. Do go get this book if you like that style of visual, if you want to see all of the other 100 maybe illustrations there are in this book, and read the stories that go along with them. Go pick it up. What I would like to do now, even though I pulled out my little highlighter from the idea that we're actually going to sketch out. Let me find it again. There we go. Pour yourself into your product. Let me find a good section of this to read here. Make you part of your product or service. Inject what's unique about the way you think into what you sell. Decommoditize your product. Make it something no one else can offer. I like that idea. I like the picture as a container. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to give myself a little bit more space here for you to see what we're doing, because I want to draw this big. We're going to draw this picture big and fill it with things that maybe that I'm trying to pour into these products. And I encourage you to do something similar. Pause this video if you need to go get materials, but do a sketch along with me here. I'm going to use my permapaque marker chisel tip side for the picture, and then I'll probably use the smaller point for the words that I will write inside of it. Try to fill up a decent portion of this page here. Let's see what we got. Okay, that'll work. Let's start here. If you saw me editing videos when I used to not do them in real time, there's so much of me like pointing to different sections of the page as I look up at the viewfinder to see, okay, I want this next sketch to go about right here, so I'll start right there. So that's what I do whenever you see me doing, that's what's going on whenever you see me doing things like that. For this one, I'm going to draw the handle last. I want even more space than that. Let's get the general shape, something like that. Yeah, that'll work. Something like this. Attempt to be somewhat symmetrical, but also not to stress about it. I really like how bold the picture is here, so I'm actually gonna kind of go over these lines here. Give the lines more width, just so they stand out a little bit better. I think this is one way. Another question that came in recently within Verbal to Visual, I believe that Suzanne posted it, asked how to make your notes more visual. If you're like not sure what to do, maybe you have a bullet point list or some phrases that you know are kind of the highlights, but you don't know what to do to make them visual. This is one thing that you can do, is think of just a single image, a single object that's relevant to that set of ideas, and draw that object big, like you're seeing here. Maybe even make the lines thick, like what we're doing, and then either within or around that object, that's where you write down the details. And if you wanted to make a kind of a full page of it, I would say use the inside of the object for like a title so that people see what this page of notes is about, and then use the space around it for the quick highlights in written phrases. That's one thing you might do here. But in this case, since what we want to do here is apply this visual metaphor to the product that you create. If you think about your work, and you might not be making a physical product, you might not be making videos, but what is the work that you do each day, and what are the qualities about yourself that you want to pour into that product? So as I think about kind of how I got into this and what I want to do with it, the things about me that I try to bring into this work here. Now I'm already seeing, I almost wish I would have drawn this bigger so I had more width to it. But that's okay. The first word that came to mind was the word curiosity. So that's what I'm going to do here. I don't like spreading it over 2 lines, but I might have to. So, because I want it to be big enough. Curiosity. Not ideal. But like I did with the picture, let's make these letters kind of bold here. And maybe as I write them, the way that I try to embed curiosity, pour curiosity into this work in a way that hopefully is authentic to me and feels authentic to me, tends to be with kind of how I use sketchnoting as a tool to help me learn about the world around me. That's mostly what I do. Whenever I get stuck and I'm not sure like what video to make next or what topic to explore. That's usually a sign that I haven't been doing enough of my own sketchnoting, of books that I'm reading, of podcasts that I want to listen to, because when I am in that mode of following my own curiosities, that's when ideas for videos or tips to share about sketchnoting, that's when those flow really easily, is when I'm pursuing my own curiosities, kind of in line with that concept of scratching your own itch. So that's one quality that I try to pour into my work here. Another thing that is related to this style of video, I'm getting a little bit of debris from all those thick marks over there, but that's okay. I think about pace a lot. This is a reminder to myself that I think I'm happiest and maybe do the best work when I approach my life and work at a walking pace. Things don't have to be rushed. ASAP is poison. So since this, and this is another reason why I'm kind of trying to lean into this style of video here, is that, the quick and snappy, fast, edited, lots of visual imagery from, different sources. There's a lot of that on YouTube, and that makes for good videos. But there's something that I enjoy about living life at a slower pace, specifically a walking pace. It's kind of my favorite thing to do. Also when I'm in a mode of not sure what to do next, or just generally throughout my day, if I'm able to get out and go for a long walk, that kind of puts me in my happy place. So trying to bring that into my work more is a goal of mine. For this one, since we've got room for it, I will do another divider here. I wish that the text size were a little bit more consistent here. Curiosity has slightly bigger letters than walking pace, but that's okay. Since there's room, I'm going to add some steps here just to help convey, add a little bit of extra imagery to communicate that idea of a walking pace. So there's nothing wrong with visuals inside of visuals. What was the last thing I wanted to share? And how do I want to do it? So the last thing I wanted to put into this, kind of one more phrase or one more concept that I've been thinking about here, is the balance between breadth and depth. So the depth within this work being my interest in sketchnoting and visual note-taking, the breadth being kind of applying that skill anywhere that feels relevant and interesting to you. So that combination of breadth, which is this horizontal idea, depth, which has this vertical component to it. I'm not even going to worry. I'm just going to do it like this. I might run out of room here. I'm going to have to get a little bit squishy with my letters. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Oh yeah, this will work. I'm going to turn the bottom of the T into my vertical arrow, and then I wish I had drawn this T. I wish I'd written this T a little bit different so I can I'll make it work. I like that they're both T's. Okay, let's fill out these letters a little bit. And once I get to that T there, we'll see if I can make it connect with that horizontal arrow in a way that makes sense. The breadth piece in terms of, I guess, both what you can do with your sketchnoting skills. Inside of Verbal to Visual, we just wrapped up with a series about making videos for folks who want to, do something a little bit similar maybe to the types of videos that you see on this YouTube channel. Making videos is one thing that you can do with your sketchnoting skills. Using them to give live presentations at work, or take notes at live events, or be the person up at the whiteboard. What do I do with this tea? This is going to look goofy, but that's okay. I've referenced before, like the 3 applications of sketchnoting that I think about are using it as a learning tool, as a problem-solving tool, as a storytelling tool. So those are 3 broad categories, but like learning, problem-solving, storytelling, dig into any one of those, and like there's a bunch of different places that you can take these skills. So not only is there a lot that you can do with your sketchnoting skills, there's also just a lot of an infinite number of topics that you could explore. So I think about that when it comes to the books that I make videos about. Not so much this style when I'm focusing on books that have illustrations of them, but if I've created a visual summary for a book, like Essentialism, I did a kind of a 1-page summary of the book Essentialism. That is one of the most popular videos on this channel. So like most of what you've seen falls into the category of kind of creativity or productivity. Some cases, maybe some business building things. So that's a category, that's a subject area that I've explored, but it's not the only subject area that I'm interested in. So allowing for myself giving myself the freedom to share sketch notes of like whatever books, whatever podcasts I happen to be engaging with. That's something I want to keep bringing to this channel. And the benefit is that no matter what topics I'm sketchnoting, there's always the opportunity to reflect on the sketchnoting process, so that even if people watching might not be super interested in that book or in that podcast episode, there might be something about how I talk about the sketchnoting process that is of interest or of value. So there we go. There is my somewhat wonky looking picture with 3 things about myself that I'm trying to pour into the work that I make. I'd be very curious to see what your picture looks like. This would be a great thing to add. If you are a member of Verbal to Visual and you're seeing this video there, share with me an image of your picture in the comments down below. Because I'd love to see what qualities about you try to pour into your work. I think it'll be very interesting. A couple more things I want to add here to wrap up this visual. I do want to maybe above here add the kind of the prompt that led to this picture. Pour yourself into your work. So it's this that's going to be poured into your work. I'm going to add my name here. Got to add the date. I've been enjoying that. I didn't always do that, but it's kind of really nice to like have that as a reference to the work. If you want to dig deeper into my work, check out verbaltovisual.com. And then the thing that might make some of you mad, and the thing that I might regret, since this book has like these great illustrations in it, I want to have them around me in the office, in my basement office here. Like, the nice thing about sketchnoting when you're creating these, like, this is something that if you feel like it's a helpful reference for you, you can have it up on the wall. Have it as a reminder of how you want to approach your work. Similar in like group settings, if you come upon some things together that you want to remind your team of, like do a sketch, have that somewhere up on the wall. I like having the work of others up on the wall around me. And since I've read this book, I'm going to rip out all of these 10 images that are my favorite and put them up somewhere around the room. This does feel a little bit like sacrilegious to do this, but I don't think Mike would mind. I don't think Jason and David would mind either. In fact, I think they would encourage this type of engagement with their work. Only if it's your own book. See, I bought this one. The first time I read this, I checked it out from a library, so of course don't do this if the book is not your own. But I also got to be able to include the visual there. I like already what's happening. I like being able to see multiple of these in like a single space as opposed to just on certain pages here. Okay, I gotta like reverse it because this is, there we go. This one here. It's kind of hard to rip it out right at the margin. So these ones that I've highlighted here, the reason I wanted to rip all these out, first of all, doesn't this just look cool? Like, look at these great ideas. I'm gotta figure out how I want to, organize them into I don't know, something that lives on the wall somewhere. These are ideas that obviously, as I was kind of rereading this book for the second time, 10 years after I first read it, I remember in some cases the ideas that stood out to me then, but there's something different about reading it now, having kind of done the work that I've done over the past 10 years, knowing which things I need reminders about, like definitely this one, definitely this one, definitely this one. So like having these around me, especially as I, at this point am kind of experimenting with a new format for a video, just trying to get deeper into the work. These are the type of reminders that are going to be helpful to have around me. So that's why I wanted to pull them out. And similar to like, I have index cards in front of me with ideas for future videos. I want to put some of these in front of and around me to remind me of how I want to approach the work. So that's what this is. And I hope you enjoyed seeing some highlights from the book Rework. Hopefully you maybe were able to sketch along with me so that you can pour more of yourself into your work in the coming weeks and months. If you want to check out another book that doesn't have visuals in it, but that's a really good book and that I created a visual summary of, go check out that visual summary of Essentialism. I will share that in the end card here. If you enjoyed this video and want to see me share, but probably not rip up, other books that have visuals in them. I'm imagining this to be a series, so if you like this style of video, like the video, click that button or tap it so that I know that you enjoy it and should make more like this. And if you're not already, do subscribe. I'd love to have you sticking around here for future videos. That's it for today. Thanks for following along. We'll talk to you again soon.